Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Happy New Year. Members of Council, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest this evening? I see none, so we'll move on to the adoption of the Council minutes held December 21st, looking for a mover and seconder. Councillor Dunn, Councillor Hammond. Discussion on that motion? All in favor? And carried. Is there any business arising out of those minutes? I see none, so then we'll move on to public meetings and court of revision. We do have a court of revision this evening, and Councillor Dunn, I believe, and myself are not members of the court of revision, so the Deputy Mayor will take over.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll call for the opening of the court of revision. I would need a mover, Mr. Verbeke, seconded by Mr. Wilkinson. All in favor? Carried. So the Court of Revision this evening is to provide for the construction of a bridge over the Lundy Drain in Part Lot 12, Concession 1, in accordance with Bylaw 525-15 in the municipality of Leamington in the County of Essex, and it will be opened. So the items for consideration are the construction of a bridge over the Lundy Drain. And I'm not sure who's taking this. Normally we have Luann, correct? Brian, are you doing it? Rob, okay. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My understanding on the project is that it is funded from one landowner, and that landowner does not have any objections to the project, and they wish it to go forward.
Great, thank you, Rob. So then the second suggested recommendation is that the construction schedule of assessment for the new access culvert over the Lundy Drain be confirmed. Moved by Mr. Verbeke, again seconded by Mr. Wilkinson. All in favor? And carried. And that's it. So the closing of the Court of Revision, moved by Mr. Hammond, Councillor Hammond, seconded by Councillor Verbeke. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So we'll move on to public meeting, zoning bylaw amendment in regard to Destiny Estate subdivision. And Brian, are you starting us off with this one?
That's correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, the Destiny Estates plan of subdivision was granted approval from the County of Essex in 2012. That was for the creation of 79 residential lots to be developed in 3 phases. The developer entered into a subdivision agreement with the municipality in 2014, and this was also for all 3 phases. Phase 1 consists of 3 single detached dwelling lots on Malibu Drive and has received final approval from the county with construction of the homes underway. Phase 2 that was recently before you with respect to the red line amendment application, removal of H application, consists of a new internal road known as Destiny Drive off of Robson Road and a cul-de-sac providing frontage to 14 single detached dwelling lots and 12 semi-detached dwelling lots. And it has recently received approval from the county. This is subsequent to the other applications, with the final plan being at the registry office for registration, which means once that's done, the lots will be officially created. With respect to this application tonight, the developer has submitted a zoning bylaw amendment application to establish site-specific residential zone provisions for the semi-detached dwelling lots on the east side of Destiny Drive to permit an increase in the maximum lot coverage from 40 to 50%, a reduction in the minimum front yard setback from 6 meters to 5.49 meters, and the minimum exterior side yard setback from 4.5 meters to 4.19 meters to allow larger semi-detached dwellings and smaller lots. Administration is of the opinion that the proposed amendment is appropriate. Its impact will not negatively affect the orderly development of the area, and it meets the general intent and purpose of the residential zone provisions of zoning bylaw. In more specific terms, it should be noted that with or without the proposed amendment, there would be no change in the rear or side yard setbacks, which would result in overcrowding. Also, the proposed amendment, together with the type of development being proposed, would maximize lot coverage. This means that the construction of any structures or decks over half a meter would be prohibited in the rear or side yards, keeping the areas open and subsequently preventing overcrowding. The massing of the proposed semi-detached dwellings will be complementary to that of the single detached dwellings and townhomes proposed within the surrounding area. The proposed reduction in front yard and exterior side yard setback will not result in overcrowding or negatively impact the functionality of the properties. The single detached dwellings approved on the opposite side of Destiny Drive are less compact in form and offer more breaks within the build line, meaning that the space, even though we're allowing the semi-detached dwellings to come closer, the approved development on their side is less compact, and as noted, it has more openings within the build line, keeping the space open and not enclosing it and creating a tunnel-like effect. The overall impact of the requested amendment is development consisting of more building, less front and exterior side yard, and a higher ratio of lot coverage to landscape open space. The amendment also represents a change in residential development standards for the area. The change in development standards reflects a new building trend common in the area, involving the construction of one-story semi-detached dwellings with covered porches, resulting in less landscaped open space to be maintained in additional gross floor area on the ground floor. Development standards are the rules established by the municipality for promoting and facilitating orderly development within the municipality. The municipality's development standards are conveyed through the zoning bylaw in the form of provisions. It should be noted that the provisions of the zoning bylaw are amended from time to time to affect new building trends, planning policies, and site-specific conditions where it is demonstrated that it is appropriate, necessary, and represents good planning. Finally, it should be noted any comments received at this public meeting will be taken into consideration by administration when the final report is prepared and brought back to council with the final recommendation on the passing of a bylaw for the subject zoning bylaw amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions of Mr. Nagata from council? I see none. So this is a public meeting. If there's anyone here in regard to this that would like to speak to council, please feel free.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for a moment of your time. I provided my full comments and summary this afternoon to staff that I believe will be forwarded to you in the package. Basically, to keep things short, knowing that it's a quick meeting tonight, I just wanted to indicate that my clients, being Gulfwood Estate Subdivision, adjacent to the Destiny Estate Subdivision, do not agree with the bylaw, do not feel that it's complementary or will create a development that's complementary to their designed subdivision that's ready to initiate and ready to begin. They feel that the standards are changing and that they're different than what was originally planned when they were designing their subdivision. And because of it, they don't feel that it's acceptable, and they don't feel that they're going to end up with a development that's appropriate adjacent to their subdivision. They feel that the massing and the cumulative effect of the 3 changes to the bylaw will have a negative impact on their plan of subdivision. Thank you.
Questions from council? None? Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience?
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. I'm here on behalf of the developer. I've been asked to respond to the comments made by the representative for the Gulfview subdivision. Just to cover a few points, first of all, it is the developer's position that the proposed rezoning will, in fact, result in a positive impact on any future development of the abutting Gulfview property. Firstly, it will encourage larger and higher value homes in the neighborhood, and that will have a spillover effect in increasing values of the adjacent properties. In addition, the larger design with integrated covered porches, as was indicated by the municipal planner, will discourage additional accessory structures and haphazard deck additions. That means that on the immediately abutting rear yards, there will be less crowding, more open space in those areas. This would be complementary to the proposed development, if any, on the Gulf View lands. In addition, at minimum, even if it's arguable that there's no positive effect, which we believe there would be, at minimum there would be no negative impact on any future development of the Gulf View lands. There is no reduction in the rear yard, which is the part of the yard that is immediately abutting. There is no reduction in interior side yards, which means that there's really no change in the visual impact from the Gulf View subdivision. From where they'll be looking, everything will look the same. Regarding the comments by Gulfview that in considering their design, they were not anticipating this, I would point out that all of this property was zoned R3 holding at the same time. The comment that this is just an infilling subdivision to a previously considered subdivision is not quite correct. All of this was a residential holding, and it was expected that there would be residential development on the entire parcel. In addition to that, I would note that the final Gulfview plan is undetermined. It hasn't been registered. So while they're concerned about a previously designed subdivision, in fact, the property that's immediately abutting this property does not have a plan of subdivision on it. So what the intention was, it's unknown. It's unknown when that will ever happen. What we do know is that we have a subdivision that is being registered and is ready to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from council, comments? Nope. Okay, thank you. In that case, the public meeting comes to a close. Next item on the agenda is not much. Consideration of bylaws.
Bylaw 1-16 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council from its meeting held January 4th, 2016.
Looking for mover and seconder, Councillor Verbicki, Councillor Wilkinson. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? And carried. There were no notices of motion, so we're into open session for council administration. Councillor Verbicki.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have 6:15, so I guess what I'd like to say is I'd like to thank them for the street lights. They are looking good. I mean, I wish I had some out our way, but there's a concern on one of the streets that they have put them up. There's only 6 on this street, Longfield, and one has not worked since, and now they're all out of the 6. So just a concerned resident was just wanting to know when it may be looked at. He has called in to the town hall, so I'll get you his name afterwards again just to double check. But how's it going with the streetlights? I guess that's another positive. We'll end on a positive.
Mr. Sharon.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. The installation is going very well. We did have some delays. There were some delays at the production facility. So our schedule, we were hoping to be completed the project by the end of 2015. It looks like we're extending into January, but we still plan on being finished by January. That's where we're at. Other than that, until tonight and one earlier, just with regards to a couple being out, no complaints. Actually, it's one of the projects we've been doing that the majority of the concerns that we hear about are positive. How well the lights have been lighting the streets and how the backlight and lighting into residences has been reduced. So all in all, thus far, a successful project.
Okay. Councillor Hammond.
Your Worship, thank you. I had 6:20, so I'm going to be talking for about 5 minutes. I, too, was going to bring forth something about the lights. I've had 2 or 3 people stop me and say how good they look in terms of the visibility you now get compared to the old ones we had. And I know my street has been done, and they really look good. And that's all I was going to do, is just make a comment about how nice the lights are. Glad to have them.
Okay, very good. Anything from staff at all? No, I had 6:18. So Just a couple of quick ones. Wednesday, December 23rd, Caldwell's had their annual Christmas open house. I know I got there, and there were several of our staff members that attended. I don't know if anybody else had the opportunity to go, but always well received and good fun to be there. And Tuesday, December 22nd, I had a lunch with Mayor Rick Moss from Pelee Island. We were talking about our ongoing relationship there with not just our support staff here at Town Hall, but also the future relations we may have in regard to tourism related items and so on and so forth, how we can work together when we go to the different conferences with the ministers and so on. So just to bring you up to speed on that. Announcement of upcoming meetings, Monday, January 11th. We have a council meeting at 6 p.m. in council chambers. Statements of members non-debatable. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Hammond, Councillor Dunn. Discussion on that motion. All in favor? Carried. Good night.